As a young kid, I used to have a recurring dream that I would live to 110 years old. And as I got older, I realized it might actually be possible. So at some point, I just decided I'm going to make that a goal. I want to be healthy at 110 years old. And really not because I'm trying to set some kind of record, although if you know I'm pretty competitive, maybe I am trying to. Not because I think I can control how many years God has given me on this earth, because I know I can't do that. But I do believe something that's influenced the way I've made decisions for a very long time. I'd rather spend my life preparing for a long, healthy future than assuming that I don't even have one. And one of the things I've believed for years is this: if one person has accomplished something, then someone else can too. And we've already had people live well beyond 110 years of age. Does that mean I will? Of course not. Only God knows that. Knowing how many days He's planned for me. But I talked to Him about it a lot, and I believe that with God's help, some wise decisions, possibly some continued advances in medicine and science, and a little determination, that more and more people will enjoy longer, healthier lives than ever before if they choose to. So why shouldn't I prepare for that possibility? Hi everyone, I'm Dan Procopio. Welcome back to the channel. If you've watched my videos before, you've probably noticed something about me. I'm pretty curious, really. Naturally, I am. And when I come across something interesting, I like to learn everything I can about it. And then, if I think it might help someone, like you, or someone you know, I share what I've learned. Sometimes that's through businesses that I've been involved with, products that I've come to trust, or even more recently from my career as a professional driver. Now, most of the time, it's simply lessons that life has taught me along the way. So whatever the subject, my hope is always the same, that something I've learned might help you make a better decision in your own life. Today, I'd like to begin a series that's become very personal to me. Not because I'm a doctor or a fitness instructor, I'm neither of those, I'm definitely, but because I want to give myself every reasonable opportunity to enjoy every year that God has given me. And this series won't be just for professional drivers, it's for anyone who wants to stay active, independent, and healthy for as long as God gives them. You see, when I say I want to be healthy at 110, I'm not really talking about the number. I'm talking about my future and possibly years. I still want to ride my bike, travel, definitely play basketball, explore places I've never been, but even more than that, I want to keep saying yes. Yes to another adventure with my girlfriend, yes to helping my kids whenever they need me, yes to being active with my grandkids, and yes to chasing great grandkids around the backyard someday. I hope that years from now, they'll all look at me and say, I can't believe Grandpa can still do that. Maybe not quite like I was at 30, but hopefully pretty amazing for 68, 88, maybe even 108. Because it's really my goal there, is not just simply to live longer, but living better. And I think about that more now than I used to. Maybe you do as well. And partly because I'm in an age where many people, including both of my parents, had to deal with significant health problems and lives that were shortened by them. Some they did have some control of, and some not so much. And my parents died at 70 and 71, so I'm getting right there. So watching that change your perspective, it certainly changed mine. It made me realize something. None of us knows how many years, months, days that we've been given. But the decisions that we make today can influence what those years can look like. And they're always small decisions. They're repeated over days, weeks, months, and years, and can completely change the direction of our lives. So I started driving professionally for Indian Trails, and like every new driver, my focus was simple. Become the safest, most professional driver I could possibly be, learn the routes, serve the passengers well, develop good habits, and earn the trust of the people riding behind me. And that responsibility obviously still comes first with the job, right? So every single day, every time I pull away from the curb, people are trusting me with their lives. Nothing is more important than that, really. But after a while, I began noticing something. This profession quietly asks a lot of your body. Not because every day is physically exhausting. In many ways, it's actually the opposite. But we spend hours sitting and minutes and hours waiting, eating, sometimes hours resting between runs. The changes don't happen overnight. They happen 1 mile, 1 shift, 1 month at a time. And the moment that really got my attention happened during a charter trip to Cedar Point just recently. So if you've never been to Cedar Point, by the way, it's one of my favorite amusement parks. It's in Sandusky, Ohio. And if you love roller coasters, you need to get there. They have 18 of them, I think, now. But that day, the roller coasters weren't what caught my attention. It was the parking lot. See, our company had 3 coaches there, and surrounding us were motor coaches from companies all over the region, probably about 100 of them. While I was walking around for our return trip, I started observing the other drivers. Some were walking around, some were eating, some were talking with other drivers, some were sleeping, some never even left their coach all day. And what I really noticed is that the majority of them were carrying way more weight around with them than I'm sure they wanted to. And as I stood there looking across that parking lot, a thought popped into my mind. If I'm not intentional, this could be my future too. Now, don't misunderstand me. I wasn't criticizing anyone. I mean, I'm not trying to judge everybody about, their weight and that kind of thing. But I was looking at myself because I realized just how easy it would be for me to slowly shift in the same direction. I had done it before, and I did not want to head there again. So that question kind of stayed with me, and I started doing what I naturally do. I became curious. I wanted to know, was I simply imagining these things or making a general presumption? Or had been people studying professional drivers for any length of time? And the more I realized, the more I researched, occupational health centers, transportation safety organizations, medical professionals, they were all identifying many of the same concerns. Long periods of sitting, fatigue, poor sleep, weight gain, back pain, shoulder problems, musculoskeletal disorders, heart disease, diabetes. That's a lot of stuff, and the research didn't really discourage me. Actually, it encouraged me because, once you understand the challenges, you can start making better decisions. And that's exactly why I decided I want to make a series of videos about this. And not because I figured everything out, definitely haven't yet, and not because I'm trying to become the healthiest person in America. I'm truly not. There are some goodies that I like ice cream. I just love them too much. So not always the best choice, right? But I want to be the best version that God has allowed me to be, okay? And I want to help other people be able to have that in their lives. So over the next several weeks, I'd like to share what I'm learning about sleep, fatigue, eating on the road, back and shoulder pain, walking, hydration, strength training, recovery, and just those small decisions that over time can make a very big difference. Because I just don't I want more years in my life. I want more life in my years. And the first challenge is probably the most obvious one. We sit a lot. If you're watching this and you're a professional driver, you already know exactly what I mean. And even if you have another profession where you find yourself sitting too much, I am sure you can relate as well. We sit while we drive, we sit while we wait, we sit while we eat. Sometimes after several hours behind the wheel, we lie down, take a quick nap, maybe a long break, maybe a short break. Now, don't misunderstand me. These breaks are important. Sometimes they're absolutely necessary because fatigue is real. In fact, I think getting proper rest is one of the most things that professional drivers can do. But the reality is our job naturally encourages us to spend an incredible amount of time sitting. And our bodies were never really designed for that. At least I don't think so. And then there's the food. Let's be honest. We become pretty good at eating. Sometimes it might be a good thing like fruit or nuts, maybe a nice healthy meal, and sometimes, well, let's just say convenience has a way of winning. You know, truck stops, fast food, vending machines, a bag of chips because it's quick, a candy bar because we're tired. You know, I've done it. I'm sure most drivers have. And before long, those little decisions begin adding up. Not because any one meal ruined our health, but because small habits repeated over days, weeks, months, and years eventually become our lifestyle. Another challenge surprised me when I first started driving: fatigue. I expected to get tired after a long day. I didn't expect how mentally draining driving can sometimes be. I remember those first few months, some of my routes were only 30 to 60 minutes long, and there were days I could hardly keep my eyes open. Not because I wasn't sleeping enough, because staring at the same road, the same lane, the same scenery, it just can quietly lull your brain into a rhythm. And over time, I learned to become much more active while driving. Check my mirrors more frequently, scanning further ahead, really trying to stay more mentally engaged. And little things that helped me remain alert, but it reminded me how important proper sleep was. If I was having these issues with a good night's sleep, imagine what it would be like if I was cheating on my sleep because of constant schedule changes. No amount of coffee can replace it. Then there were the physical demands people don't think about a lot. You know, you're moving luggage around, you're twisting, you're reaching, you're climbing in and out of the coach, walking across parking lots, standing for long periods. Eventually, many drivers began dealing with back pain, shoulder problems, hip pain, knee issues, even repetitive strain injuries. So recently, I talked with another driver who had previously driven a semi. She told me that after about a year, the vibration through the truck had become so uncomfortable, she decided she had to make a change. And so one of the first things that she noticed after moving to driving a motor coach was how much smoother the ride felt on her arms. That conversation reminded me that every vehicle, every profession, every body is a little different. But it also reminded me that we need to pay attention when our body starts talking to us. Ignoring it rarely makes it better. And of course, like I said, there's sleep. I think sleep might be one of the most overlooked parts of staying healthy. Some drivers, they have wonderfully consistent schedules, so it works for them. Others don't. At Indian Trails, we have dispatchers who regularly remind us after a long day, go home and get some rest. I appreciate that because tomorrow may look completely different than today. It might be an early morning, it might be a late night, it might be a charter with a lot of sitting downtime, a line run. Our schedules change all the time, and when sleep becomes something we sacrifice over and over again, everything else becomes harder. Eating well, staying patient, making good decisions, remaining alert, it all starts becoming more difficult. And as I continued reading the research, one thing became very clear. None of these problems, again, like I said earlier, appear overnight. They develop gradually, one decision, one habit, one day at a time. Strangely enough, that's also what gave me hope. Because if poor health develops one decision at a time, maybe better health can too. Maybe it starts with a 10-minute walk during a long layover. Maybe it's bringing healthier food from home. Maybe it's drinking more water instead of another soft drink. And maybe it's stretching just before climbing back into the driver's seat. None of these things seem dramatic, but neither is gaining 30 pounds until one day it is. And that's one of the reasons I'm thinking about making this series, not because I figured all of it out, but I have experienced a lot of it, and not because I think I'm an expert. I definitely not. I'm just making these videos because I'm learning, and I thought maybe you'd like to learn with me. So over the next several weeks, I'd like to spend a little more time talking about each of those subjects individually, because I've learned a lot from each of them. Fatigue, from eating on the road, back and shoulder pain, walking, hydration, sleep, strength recovery, and the habits that might help us enjoy this profession or any profession where you might deal with similar issues without, quietly sacrificing our health. So it isn't about chasing a number on the scale. It isn't even really about living to 110. It's about giving myself every reasonable opportunity to keep saying yes. Yes to another bike ride or another hiking trip. Yes to traveling somewhere new where some walking is going to be involved. Definitely yes to playing basketball. Yes to helping my girlfriend with every adventure or project she dreams up next. And yes to throwing a football with future grandkids, well, grandkids I have now, and even great grandkids someday. And hope that God blesses me with enough years that they're going to say, man, my grandkids will say, man, I can't believe that Grandpa can still do this at 68, at 88, and maybe even 108. So you don't have to become perfect this week, right? Neither do I. But maybe we can do both, become just a little bit more intentional, because the better we take care of ourselves, the better we're able to take care of the people who depend on us. And whether that's our passengers, our coworkers, our families, the people that we love the most, if you've enjoyed this conversation, I hope you'll come back for the next one. I'd love to take a look at some of these challenges one by one and focus more on what I've observed and what I've learned about handling them head on. Plus some practical things all of us can do to stay healthier, more alert and safe behind the wheel or even behind the desk. And if that's something you'd like to see, I'd love to have you join me again. And, if you've got some comments now, stick them down there in the comments. Love to hear what you maybe experienced or some advice you might have. And again, my name's Dan Procopio. I'm glad you're here. Until next time, have a phenomenal day.